Hi, I'm Chris Lane. I head up Transport Innovation for Transport for West Midlands. Transport for West Midlands are part of the West Midlands Combined Authority, right in the heart of the country, really doing some exciting things at the moment on future transport. Really want to talk to you today about one of the challenges that we face, that all of us face, I think. We have a number of single occupancy car journeys in the West Midlands. If you see the diagram on the right-hand side, you can see the extent of the challenge that we face. And despite having the largest urban bus network in Europe, the map on the left-hand side, we still have a large number of single occupancy car journeys. In fact, 63% of people in the West Midlands pre-pandemic were making their journeys by car. And the pandemic has even made this even more challenging as we've been encouraging people to move away from public transport. Many of you will remember these graphs that were on our news. Really, we've been telling people not to use public transport. We've been showing them what the impact of the pandemic has been. We've seen challenges for both the transport network, but also the economy. What did we do during the pandemic? Well, we have a data dashboard, and what we were able to do is we were able to correlate our transport data with the data from the prevalence of the pandemic. This was really helpful in two ways. In the first way, it allowed us to understand the impact on our networks and on the people who live and work in the West Midlands. But it also helped us manage our networks. It started to reveal where our key workers lived and whether the transport we had was sufficient for them, whether it supported their needs, whether it supported what they want to do. So it was real insight into the way our transport worked, a real insight into the way our key workers worked. The pandemic has had some positive points and many negative points. On the positive side, we've seen less pollution. We've seen people working from home, their potential work-life balance better. But we've also seen that it has impacted our economy, it's impacted individuals. And sometimes our most deprived communities are the communities that have been impacted the most. During the pandemic, we concentrated on getting our key workers to where they needed to be. But again, we're starting to see now that transport has a real opportunity to build back our cities, to build back our economy, to build back our communities. So our challenge now is, so what do we do as we start to build back as a nation? One of the things that we are looking at is our Future Transport Zones programme. So you'll see from this diagram that we're looking at three things. One, the customer is absolutely vital, understanding what the individual's need is, what they need to do, what drives them, what drives their behaviour. And that's supported by real quality data, quality about our network, quality about what's happening. The third part of that is the mode. And I think it's been a real opportunity here in the West Midlands to start to try out some new modes. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. And we see part of the glue that brings that together is mobility as a service, moving on from some of the early trials and tests that we did with mobility as a service into how does that help us build back. So we want to understand behaviour, we want to target our transport to the right needs, and we're going to use data to help us do that. As part of this, we are working on a number of showcases to show what the future of mobility could look like. We start off with the existing provision, making sure that what is already there, that we get that right. We then think about additional provision. What new things could we bring in? Things like lift sharing, car clubs, demand responsive transport, and of course now we have the e-scooter in the West Midlands. We feel that that needs to be brought together in a quality interface. And the interface, really, we're thinking about the customer's experience, and you'll see underpinning those is our experience amplifiers, which I'll talk about in a moment. So it's understanding why people make their trips and why they don't choose to travel by sustainable mode sometimes. And then supporting that locally with incentives and disincentives. So here we have our experience amplifiers, and we've interesting. This has changed over time, as certainly during the pandemic. Maybe pre-pandemic, we wanted to be entertained. We wanted to just be able to get there quickly from A to B, convenience. But now actually we want to feel more safe. Our well-being is important. We want to know that we're going to get to our destination on time. We may not want to socialise with others at the moment. And what we're finding is the way people think and their emotions do affect their travel. Some early research we did about trips into the West Midlands showed that for some car drivers, even if we were to put roadworks in their way and increase their journey time significantly, they would still do the same thing. But there are groups of people that will retime, that will reroute and will change modes and work differently. But we think this experience amplification and what affects behaviour is fundamental for changing the way we think about future transport. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about one of our showcases. It's on the campus at the University of Warwick. You can see from this diagram that we've tried to bring together a number of different modes for the benefit of the people that travel to and from Warwick. So you'll see that we've got traditional public transport. We've got a new demand responsive transit service. We've got car clubs. We've got our e-scooters. We've got our cycle hire. And all of that's available through an app. And that app's linked into the students, the campus's university life. It's really important when you think about mobility to think about lifestyle, to think about how people are going to use that and where they're actually going to use that. You saw e-scooters on the previous slide, and I think what I would say is they've been very, very well received in the West Midlands. These are some early statistics from some of the areas that are starting to see e-scooters. And we're finding that people are choosing to ride e-scooters. They like e-scooters. I appreciate that not everybody will love e-scooters, but they've worked really well within the West Midlands. And certainly within Birmingham, we've seen a 2- and 3-fold expansion of the scheme that started off. Demand responsive transport has been very important for us. And we have at Warwick, the first regional app-based demand responsive transport programme. It's available in and around Coventry, and it's been a collaboration with the university. And it's been great to bring together a framework of not just the bus services themselves, the DRT vehicles, but the app software. So it's been really nice to marry together new technology and demand responsive transport. So we've started within University of Warwick and people and the area around that, but we're extending that into Coventry. And we really want to see, how does DRT collaborate with the other modes? How does it work together? How does it support a better mobility experience for people? An area that's been really exciting for us has been mobility credits. I mentioned previously we have done work on mobility as a service, but we need to understand what's going to make the difference for people to move away from their private car to choosing sustainable travel. And we have the opportunity through our Future Transport Zones programme to try that. And the way we've done that is we've incentivised people with £3,000 per vehicle to scrap their old polluting vehicle. And you see one of our senior councillors from Coventry with the first person that scrapped their vehicle on our mobility credit scheme. And you'll see the vehicle in the bottom picture that's been crushed. And what we do with that individual is we will give them £3,000 to spend on mobility. And that's not just public transport. So we've included car clubs, we include the bikes and the scooters. So it's the whole mix of transport, and include taxis, because it has to be something that's good enough to replace your private car, good enough to allow you to travel differently. So you'll see on the slide the sort of the qualifying criteria, but this is a long-term program where we follow these individuals and understand, do these changes really make a difference to their day-to-day, for their ongoing travel? Does it make a permanent change for them, or actually in 3 or 4 months' time, do they just go back to buying a car and using that? So it's been really important. We spent a lot of time in the Coventry area around this scheme, thinking about the actual transport provision, making sure that we are giving people credits where they've genuinely got choice, to access transport. Now, I mentioned some of our early work with mobility as a service. We're continuing to extend that work, and we see that as the real glue to bring together some of our future transport modes and future transport opportunities. So for us, it's a one-stop interface through a mobile app. So users can plan, book and pay for their journeys across multiple public and private transport modes, which would include car hire, scooters, the things I've mentioned previously. But it also includes the sustainable modes, the active travel like walking and cycling. So we really do want to encourage people to continue what's happened during the pandemic, to be healthy and to get out there and to do things. So we really want to encourage active modes as well. And for us, it's not just transport. We're building an ecosystem because it's all based on the individual, the customer. So yes, they need a good choice of modes, but that needs to help them with their lifestyle. So we travel to do something, so we need to understand lifestyle and behaviour. Energy is becoming really important with the rise of electric vehicles, electric vehicle charging. Again, you need access to those sorts of facilities, whether that's a hire car, whether that's a car share, whatever it is, you need to know where you can go and charge your vehicle. The area needs to have the infrastructure to support that. And then it's making sure the core infrastructure is in place, the core public transport infrastructure and the management of that, to allow that transport to work smoothly and efficiently and effectively. Really important for us is that we want to let mobility as a service be policy led to create socio-economic outcomes. We have tried a commercial mobility as a service. We used a company called Miles Global, who had a product called WIM. We found that customers really liked that. They really wanted to use it, but it didn't have the great reach that we wanted through mobility as a service. So we're extending that now to try and do more. We are using our smart ticketing platform, Swift, which is incredibly successful, the largest outside of London's Oyster card scheme. We're linking that into our customer services. We're building in some of the really excellent work we've done on data insight and analytics. We're levering in new innovation services. DRT might not be that innovative for some people, but what is there? What are the new emerging services? How can we build that in? We're looking at the core transport network, massive investment in the West Midlands, bus, trams, trains and new modes. And then we're looking at network management and disruptions. How do we use data and information to better run and better create a smooth and sustainable transport network? And all of this is to really support the movement of the West Midlands. We've got two really big events, one happening now and one to come, that we need to be able to look after and make sure people move smoothly. We're currently celebrating Coventry as the City of Culture 2021. With the pandemic, things have started slowly and not been the way they would have chosen, but we are seeing events in Coventry now, and we'll see them throughout the rest of this year and into 2022. And then we've got the great opportunity of the Birmingham Commonwealth Games in 2022. That will be a very interesting one, where we need to manage a network for people that are visiting the games and for people participating in the games, but where the core population of Birmingham and the West Midlands also are doing their business as usual, their day-to-day work. So again, we're bringing together all of this thinking, mobility as a service, new modes, all of our data, to make these two events run really smoothly and leave a legacy in the West Midlands of a very efficient, smooth, nice to use public transport network. Thank you very much. I'm Chris Lane, and if you'd like any more information, we have our future mobilities opportunities on our website. I'd encourage you to have a look at some of the things that we're doing. Thank you.